Hello everyone. Welcome back to another podcast. It's an audio podcast which is going to be held for the purpose of talking on a particular topic. So I'm going to choose the topic. I'm going to keep the topic of the podcast, this audio podcast, as what is the importance of accent in English, or why accent is important in a language like English. So I'm going to talk about it. So let's get started. All right. So if I want to have to talk about accent, so first of all, I'd say that accent plays a significant role in determining a person's personality, overall personality, his identity, his background, his cultural background, his social background, his class, his qualification, like how qualified he is, how educated he is, how mannered he is. So accents are basically very unique for each and every language, especially as do for many English speakers across the whole world. There are lots of accents, with English being the global language. There are many accents spread universally across the world, and all accents are universally accepted. Like there are British accent, American accent, Canadian accent, Indian accent, Russian accent, Spanish accent, French accent, Chinese accent, Japanese accent, Korean accent, plenty of accents based on a person's mother tongue influence. So that's pretty good. And accent reflects how a person is treated or perceived as per his class or his social status or personality. Accent can have an overall impact on your first impression. When you speak in English for the first time, you're gonna have an impact on the other person whom you're talking with or whom you're talking to. So it is often said that your first impression is your last impression. The first impression, how you speak or how you're going to be like talking to a person in English, is going to be your last and everlasting impression for the more you speak with that person. So that's pretty good. And what I think personally is accent can be very tricky to master, especially if you have a strong regional influence, that is MTI issue or mother tongue influence issue in your speech patterns of English. So if you speak English with a Bengali accent, like my native language is Bengali, and like my native language is Bengali, and I previously used to have a lot of Eastern Indian influences in my speech patterns of English, especially when I used to speak English with Bengali mouth placement and Bengali accent. So that has now been overcome, as you can pretty much understand by listening to this audio, that I'm making much more use of the American accent. I'm using the general form of standard neutral sounding American accent, and that's pretty what I can just say in a couple words that I've accomplished as a way of, or the story behind my success of mastering English with an American accent, living in a country like India, and especially while living in place like in the suburb of Kolkata region in West Bengal. While living the outskirt in the suburb of Kolkata, having an American accent is pretty like it's unexpected to many people, for many people to perceive that kind of pronunciation of English. So accents are definitely very unique in its own versatility, or just like these are very much variations. It makes uniqueness into a speaker's voice. So that's what I can say about accents. So having a proper, clear, and comprehensible accent is definitely a key to progress and prosperity in your own life, in your career. If you're honing your skill in terms of pronunciation and accent, you can choose any accent, whatever you want. You can go for either for the British accent or the American accent, but yes, it has to be authentically voicing exactly like that of an American or British person. If you have a strong influence on your speech patterns of English, like if you speak English with a strong regional accents, which other people won't be able to, like, perceive or comprehend, especially if they are not accustomed to or habituated to listening to those that distorted kind of pronunciation or the accent, the entire communication might get affected due to that reason. So I highly recommend you to have a proper accent in English. So now I know a lot of people might argue that why should I pay much attention to pronunciations and accent? I'm pretty much confident, like the purpose or the need of conveying the message and whether it is to be understood is the main purpose of a language. I understand that fact, but still it's imperative to have clear and proper accent for yourself to be able to be understood on the global level, while especially speaking a global language for international communication like English. That's all I had to say. Thank you so much for listening to this audio podcast, and I thank you so much for having your time spending into this whole podcast. And if you like the podcast, then do like the podcast by hitting the like button, and also do let me know in the comments, like, what's your perception about accents. And we'll see you next again in another video content.